Hello everybody, this is Toys R Us, and for this special figure showcase we're going to be looking at a very popular character and one of my favourite figures, Soundwave. What we're going to do in this video, as you've seen, I've got a few of my Soundwaves out, and these are the most of the ones that I've got which follow through his generation's continuity of figures. I am aware that this isn't every single one that's been released, and of course there's been an abundance of Soundwave figures released under the Bayverse movie lines, but I'm not going to be covering any of them today. I'm just going to be covering the ones that we see in front of us. So I'm sorry if I've missed out one of your favourites. I'm just down to what I've got in space. So as you can see, we've not only got Soundwave, we have of course got Soundblaster as well. And some people may be aware, some people might not, but of course Soundwave in the Generation 1 continuity in the cartoons, in the Japanese cartoons Headmasters, was destroyed unfortunately, and then of course he was rebuilt up to be Soundblaster. So that's why there is Soundblaster with Soundwave. So what we're going to do with this video, we are going to have a quick look at all the ones which I've got out. I'll give you all the dates of them, I'll give you their releases, what they actually are, so you know, you might look at these and think, oh, I want that particular version, or you might have seen one of these versions around and thought, oh, I wonder which one it is, but I'm going to tell you what they are today. So yeah, pick them up, I'll bring them a bit closer to the camera in a second, and then at the end we'll get to have a look at some of the artwork as well, because some of the artwork on the original packaging is really good. Right, let's get started then. So we're going to start right over in the top left, and of course there he is. That is the original Soundwave. So he came out for Transformers wise in 1984. He was available before under a different toy line, Microman I think it wasn't the Diaclone, it was Microman, and he was like a cassette man, because that's of course what he was. I'm quite lucky with mine because his legs are still stable enough and he still stands, but he's a very blocky sort of figure. His alternate mode is fantastic. Obviously his alternate mode was a tape cassette player, and the brilliant thing about Soundwave was his weapons. These obviously transformed into fake batteries to go into the back as well. So an absolutely fantastic figure. We'll have a look at the box in a minute. As I've just mentioned, he was 1984, and I did mention obviously he is a tape player and he does stand, but I don't like him leaning forward just in case. That's better, there we go. And then I think that's probably one of the main problems why we don't have an abundance, a huge amount of Soundwave reissues, because obviously his origin, he originated as a cassette player, and in this day and age they are not even heard of. I remember literally going around my wife's family's house, it was well over 10 years ago, and I had one of these phone cases on one of my original iPhones, and I showed it her younger brother, who was about 10 at the time. So this is, yeah, and he was like, what's that? He didn't even know what a tape was. So of course poor old Soundwave, with the reissues for him, that's probably why they struggle, because they have to turn him into ships, or they have to turn him into some sort of vehicles. So he obviously is going to lose the originality from where he came, as I say, the Generation 1 originality of the fact that it was a tape case. So maybe that's a reason, I'm just speculating. I'm going to move along now though to Soundblaster. This is what I mentioned earlier. So this is a Takara Japanese exclusive, and it is a retool of Soundwave. So it's pretty much exactly the same, apart from the fact that you've got the bigger chest cavity, because you can actually fit 2 cassettes in. I mean, he's obviously a different colour, but they have retooled the chest cavity, and the chest cavity for this is brilliant. I'm going to update my video on Soundblaster because it works like a tech spec. You can see the red colour on it, and there's like a decoder on Buzzor, and it shows you where Fortress Maximus's weak spot is. So that's Soundblaster. He is, as I say, just a retool of the original Soundwave. He's just got a bigger chest cavity. So they were the ones that came out in the 80s. Original one 84, Soundblaster in 87. One that just snuck into the 90s was the Action Master version. And again, I know that these aren't very popular, but let's have a quick look. In fact, we'll have a look at the loose one first. And these, to be honest, this looks very much like the new RED series of figures. So no transformation, just articulation in the legs and in the shoulders. And he came with wing thing, which also doubled into being a weapon. And that just snuck in, as I say, in the Generation 1 continuity. That was 1990. Then we're going to look at the Generations one. And the first Generations one will be Cybertronian Soundwave. So this is the first sort of start where they took him away from being a tape cassette player. So this is the Generations one. We'll look at the package because I've only got him in a package. Can't seem to see where I've put his loose one in. If we spin him round, There we go, so we've got him already turning into a vehicle. And this, I think, was the start of Soundwave becoming vehicle mode, rather. So we'll pop that there. Then we've got Fall of Cybertron that came out in 2012. I've got two versions of them because, of course, they did a Soundwave and a Soundblaster. So there is the Soundwave figure. And this, funnily enough, we might as well look at the packaging again while we're here. Here's the boxed one, and it does, to be honest, just look like a much bigger version of the Generations, because of course these are the Voyager size figures. You'll notice obviously we've got Laserbeak on the top of him there. I'm deliberately at the moment not discussing the cassettes and putting them on because that can take an age because of how many there actually was. I'm just dealing with Soundwave stroke Soundblaster. So I'm going to move along now. Directly opposite on the other side is of course the Soundblaster, and this is where all toy companies, not just Hasbro, they get cheeky. This is just a straight up redeco, so it's exactly the same. And I actually think it's a redeco, well no, it's a retool of Blaster, but it's a redeco of Soundwave, just with the Soundblaster colours. And I'll have a quick look at the box as well. So it's exactly the same. Packaging wise, nothing different. There's the cassettes on the side, and there of course he is. But he's got Buzzsaw exactly as the original G1 did as well. So there is the Fall of Cybertron versions. We actually got them in the UK. We didn't get much else, but we actually, I don't think we've got Soundblaster now, saying that, just jinxed myself. So while we're around there, we're now going to move on to the Titans Return, which is a leader class figure, so that's quite big. That is 2016, which is this one. This is huge. It's very blocky. The box I've got in storage. I think the only problem with this is with the figure being so big, it really does make the tape look really small right in the middle, whereas obviously the chest piece is on the rest of the figures is, you know, it's quite big. It's, you can see where it is, and of course this is it can turn into a base, but it does obviously turn into like a ghetto blaster now rather than an actual tape player. So he came out in 2016. That's Titans Return, and that's because his head, if I pull it back, was one of the Titans. I mean, this was quite a cool gimmick, but not for Soundwave. Soundwave was never ever a headmaster, so not particularly fond of it doing that, but the figure's still Soundwave, and of course it still looks all right. There we go. So now we've got the Siege figure, which is the one at the front in the middle. This I think is fantastic. I haven't got the new one yet. I know he's getting the new War for Cybertron, the Netflix one, where ironically enough he's not battered, he's actually pretty much brand new. So this one's obviously a battered version of him. Really good again. Some people have been in the fandom moaning the fact that he's quite small, but I like the figure. There's a lot of detail on it and it does look good. Before we jump to the back shelf, there's another one just behind the Titans Return, and this was the release. It's Soundwave and Doombox, and it came out with the Bumblebee movie from 2018, and it's just exactly the same as the Titans Return, except they've repackaged it. Oop, there you go. You can see the base mode that they both turn into there. And as I say, instead of him being a Walkman cassette player, he's actually like a portable stereo, or boombox as they actually do call it there as well. So yeah, that's the Bumblebee edition. It looks quite cool. And now I'm going to move on back to the back shelf, and I do have an Encore figure. I realised that I've got these, I've put this away, to be honest. The only reason I've got this is because I was brought some Amazon vouchers for Christmas, and they nearly ran out, so I had to order something very quick. But I do like this. It does give you the opportunity to get a couple of the cassettes that we didn't have in the UK. Funnily enough, if you have a look at the front of the cassettes, see you've got these stickers there. When you put them, and I'll show you this in much more detail with the original G1 Soundwave when I do an updated video, sorry, Soundblaster, it acts like a tech spec decoder through there, so you can see that through it. It's brilliant, it's so clever. So this is Encore version, and this one came out in, let me have a quick look, Encore came out 2012, so I've had that nearly 10 years already. So I'm going to go backwards through them. I'm going to stay on this side. I'm going to stay with the Soundblaster original packaging. So that's the Takara packaging there. The D is obviously for Destron 101. As I say, this came out around the time of the Headmasters and the Headmasters cartoon. So this will be 1987, like I've said already. But there is your artwork for 1987. and you've got 2 tech specs because you've got Buzzsaw and you've got Soundblaster. But there's the artwork, the lovely Headmaster's battle scene. You can't really see Scorponok on the bottom left, you can just see mainly Fortress Maximus. Great box. And again, I'm lucky enough to have my Soundblaster. He will just stand up. Moving before we get to the final one, I always tend to, at the moment with these, come right back. So there is Soundwave with Wing Thing, mint on seal card for the Action Masters, and then there's not much going on here, unfortunately. There's just his incredibly basic transformation, which isn't his, it's the Wing Thing, and of course there is the little collector's cards, power plans you can collect, as well as the tech specs. They did do these little cards you can keep as well, so they added a little bonus with that. That's 1990, and we're going to go and finish up with the original Generation 1 Soundwave. Okay, that's the original packaging. There's the original artwork. He's with Buzzsaw as well. There's so many different versions of these that came out, and with different figures. The Takara one came with a different figure, and it came with a set of headphones. There's quite a few variants. This is the one that I've got though. That's the original artwork from the 1984 battle scenes that they used. Again, you got the double tech spec. You got Buzzsaw and Soundwave. Nice battle scene. Looks really good. So yeah, this is coming to an end, as I say, our Soundwave showcase. I think he's just so popular. I mean, even my wife loves Soundwave. I don't know if it's the character, it's probably just the voice, to be fair, because in all of his incarnations, even in the Bayverse movies, he's got a cool voice, hasn't he? He really is a very, very... Oh, I've completely missed out the Masterpiece. What am I doing? He's a very, very cool figure. The Masterpiece, yeah, look, the 2 larger ones, smack bang in the centre. I don't know how I missed that. I'm ever so sorry. Good job I didn't wrap it up too fast. This is Masterpiece Soundwave. This was the Takara version. Hasbro did a version as well with a load of tapes. Do really like this. This is a very good Masterpiece figure, to be fair. Some of the new Masterpieces I'm not too fond of. I haven't got all the newer ones, so I can't pass comment on the very, very new ones, but this one, I do really, really like this. That's his G1, you know, as you're going to get. He looks just so cool. He looks exactly like the cartoon. Really, really like that. And then, of course, because they like to make money on the same molds and stuff, or just retool something slightly, there is the Masterpiece Soundblaster. So the Masterpiece Soundwave was 2013 and Soundblaster was 2014. Very cool figures, very G1 authentic, to be honest. Very, very, very good. Really like them. Sorry I nearly missed them out, but there you go. There is then. So this is some of the Generations line continuity, and I've chucked Bumblebee one as well in the background, obviously there, of Soundwave. So yeah, keep your suggestions coming. These videos are good. They are tough to set up, time consuming as well, but I really enjoy doing them. So keep your suggestions coming in and I'll carry on doing things like this. Thanks very much guys, and take care.